Hello guys, in this video I will explain about static variable in C programming language. In my previous video I have explained about static function. If you have not watched that video, please check it out. I will provide the link in iBox, you can check it out. Okay, so let's get started. And so what are static variable? Like a static function, the meaning of the static keyword in C is to limit the scope. If we talk about static function, it will limit the scope of function to a current file. We cannot access that function outside of that file. Likewise, if we use static keyword in variable declaration, like static int a, static float b, whatever, it will limit the scope of that variable to the function where we are declaring it. So let me give an example. Suppose if I create a function with name function1, if I declare variable static int a here, and if I initialize it to 5, okay, we only can access this variable inside this function. We cannot access the variable a outside of that function. We cannot access in the main file, main function, or whatever the function, if we create some function. Okay, so but one thing we have to consider that if we the value of this variable a is retained even if we get out from this function, like if I call this function, okay, if I call this function, I when I go to this line, then this will take me to there and it will go through declaration. Let me print something, print this variable here. Now if I call this function, first I will go to this line, static int a equal to 5. Okay, so we have declared variable a which have value 5 and it is static in nature, and then we print that variable. And when we get out from the function, okay, from here, then the value of a is remained 5. Actually the value is stored in global scope, but value is in global scope, but we cannot access that value of a in globally. We can only access the value to in this function. So if we talk about local variables, like if I remove this static keyword here, then this is local variable. Okay, so the in this local variable, the scope is only to this function1, and the value is also limited to this function. Like if we get out from this function, the value will be lost. The variable a having value 5 in some memory, it will be lost. Okay, so but it will not be in the case of static. So let me demonstrate it. Suppose if I call this function a function1, and in that function I will increment the value of a, and I will call this 2 times. And now if I compile this, as you can see, the values first is 5, then it is incremented, then the value is 6. Okay, so it means the value is retained in the memory. Even if we get out from this function1, the value of a is remained in the memory. That is and so it means that variable a is global, but we can only access this variable inside the function one. So that is the meaning of static. It limits the scope to some function or to some file. Okay. Now if I remove this variable static here, and if I try to compile this, as you can see, the value is 5 baud times. It means it does not hold the value in memory when we get out from this function. So it means that variable is not global in nature, and it is local variable, and it has a local scope in the function one, and its value is also not global. It means the value will be lost when we get out from this function. So that's why we use static in function, static variable. Now if that's from the function perspective. Now if I declare a static variable outside of function or some like in any file, suppose I have a file named static demo.c. If I declare some variable here like int b equal to 5, and if I try to access this variable inside main.c, what I have to do is extend that variable using extend keyword int b. And if I try to access this, let me comment it out. As you can see, the value is 5. So it means we can access the value variable b in another file using external keyword. But what if I make this variable static? Now if I try to access this, it will give me error in compilation. As you can see, it gives me error in compilation. So we cannot access static variable outside that file. We can only access this inside this file. Now if I try to access the variable in this file, so if create function 2, and I print its value here, if I call the function 2 here, so as you can see, we can access the variable b, which is static in nature, inside this file, but we cannot access this variable b outside of this file. We cannot access this in main.c file. Okay, so one question you must have in mind that when we declare some static variable in any function, its values remained. So what will happen if we declare some static variable outside the function like this? Okay, so its value will remain if we go out from this file. So let's check that. So if I increment this value, and if I call this function 2 times, as you can see, first v is 5 and then it is 6, so it means its values remained when we not declare in same, when we declared outside of any function. Likewise, when we declared in function, its value remain. Okay, so what if I remove the keyword static here, and now let's see what result it will produce. Let's compile it. So you can see the values still remain because that variable is global. That's why the values remain. Okay, so if I put static here, the variable is still global, but now its scope is limited. We can only access this variable in this file, not in this file. Okay, so that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching this. See you later.